Hey, today's sponsor of the program is IAC Laser Engraving. It is a leftist-owned worker collective. It started by a longtime listener, Ryan Lubin, back in late 2021. His company is democratically structured to ensure any hierarchies are justified and efficient. They use sustainably sourced materials coupled with an extremely energy-efficient laser technology to bring you gifts and products you're not going to find anywhere else. So your purchase of these items not only lets you get one of these unique gifts, it helps support a business model that is structured around compassionate and worker-centered care, as opposed to the more traditional and predatory authoritarian ones found throughout capitalism. Check out some of the stuff that Ryan and IAC makes. They've got this.
Wait.
Sorry. Okay.
There we go.
Check out this. This is a fox. They have all sorts of different things at IAC. This is a fox. It is got 5 hand-painted, hand-glued layers. It's a 3-dimensional design. I think you can tell that from there. I mean, it's nuts. It's available on their website for only $75. Makes a great gift. This one, Saul, when he came in last time, wanted this one big time.
Oh, he's already got 2. He's hoarding all.
He's hoarding all of them. He's really taking them from me. But this is a honeycomb. It's got 9 layers design. It is again hand painted and all sustainably sourced material. $75 at AIClasers.com. They have so many different things. They have they've got a Sasquatch and an owl, and they have frames. But also check this out. This is an example of This is actually a 99-piece wooden puzzle, and I've got one with a different photo for someone else in my family of other cats. I can't say what, but the point is you can custom design these. This could be a picture of your parents for their anniversary, or your kid for their birthday, or your pets, or your aunts, whatever. It could be a picture of anything. Maybe your favorite football player or basketball player or something like that. They make all sorts of amazing gifts. And of course, it comes in this really cool box, little lever there. IAClaser.com. They can custom these puzzles. They can do all sorts of specialties for you. And they have improved that box design. It is much stronger. It's more vibrant, stronger latches, stronger hinges. And like I say, you saw that the tops are really vibrant, beautiful in and of themselves. You make the puzzle, then you get the box.
Nice.
As always, visit IAClasers.com. Use the coupon code majority10 at checkout and save 10% on your order. It just occurred to me when Saul makes that puzzle, he's going to have a box with the picture of the cats on there too. So I'm hesitant to say it because I don't want them to know.
Yeah.
They also have updated their site recently. So if you visited in the past, you're going to want to visit again. Check out their new products. IAClasers.com. 10% off your order. Now's the time to get your gifts, folks. Now is the time to do it. All right. And also now is the time to start the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, November 14, 2023. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, the House to vote to avoid a government shutdown, at least temporarily. Mike Johnson is going to need Democratic votes. And that's going to upset some people.
Rhino.
Meanwhile, the Palestinians call for the Israeli onslaught to allow for an evacuation of patients and newborns at the Al-Shifa Hospital. U.S. Supreme Court adopts an ethics rule, but guess what? It's almost completely meaningless.
Rule is honestly a little generous.
It adopts an ethics public relations statement.
Yeah.
In Gaza, the UN runs out of fuel and cannot distribute even the minimal aid it has. Meanwhile, dozens of State Department employees signed internal memos calling for the U.S. government to call for a ceasefire. Inflation flattens, but Americans still sour on Bidenomics. The National Climate Assessment released for the first time in 5 years, and maybe unsurprisingly, it's bleak. Donald Trump's campaign tries to distance itself from Donald Trump's own 2025 administration's plans. On the way out, Joe Manchin trying to stop the National Labor Relations Board joint employment rule. And today, there will be a protest versus anti-Semitism planned for the Washington Mall, featuring the president of Israel, who last we heard from endorsed collective punishment. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. It is Tuesday
News Day.
Tuesday News Day. According
Tuesday
to
News Day.
Emma Vigland. It is Tuesday News Day. And we will be going through some of the news. Jimmy from Maryland on the IM says, please watch the Help Committee hearing today. Senator Mullen wanted to literally fight Teamsters O'Brien. Time stay.
I thought that was an old clip, but I guess, yeah.
Around 48. Let's...
Wait, that's the second union president that
No,
Mark
it's Sean
Wayne-
O'Brien. It's Sean O'Brien again. I think.
Oh, no, they're back at it.
Yeah, they're
oh,
back
those
at
two
it.
hate
That's why I
each
literally
other.
thought it was an old clip going around again, but I guess
They've gotten into it
again.
before, like,
All right,
you
well,
know.
let's watch that. But speaking of fights, the apparently now, as you know, the government funding runs out on Friday, and in an effort to avoid a government shutdown, the Republicans apparently have a two-step ladder that they're calling it, where they were able to pass two appropriations bills. Make sure I have this right. One of which will expire in mid-January, one of which will expire in mid-February. They are for different things. Of course, as you know, if you have any type of enterprise that you're running, what you want are as many different budgets that expire at different times, because it's a much more efficient way of running things.
Republicans love bureaucracy. They famously talk about it all the time.
I mean, this isn't even just bureaucracy. It's
red tape.
It's not just red tape. It's just bad planning and poor exercise. So funding for the agriculture, energy, and water and transportation HUD spending bills would be a basically continuing resolution until January 19th. Oh, also the VA. And then other 8 bills, including defense, would be extended through February 2nd. I don't know what the logic is behind this. I don't know why they think it's more effective, or maybe if part of the government shuts down and then the other part, like maybe if they feel like, I don't know, military personnel wouldn't get paid and that it would be more pressure. I'm unclear.
What makes you think they want it to be effective?
Well, I don't know why it's more effective for them.
Except the fact that it seems like, this is what the approach that they agreed upon now that they got rid of McCarthy as a way to slow down the process and not have an omnibus bill. That's what they don't want, right? The Republicans don't want some sort of bulk package where the Democrats can use their leverage to keep all things together as opposed to doing it piecemeal. It's silly. It's still going to result in dysfunction. It just depends on how it shakes out.
Well, presumably the omnibus would also include the extra funding that they want too. So, but I just don't know what the theory is by doing these, separating these two things. I suspect it's like they feel like, well, agriculture, energy, VA, transportation, HUD, maybe those or some of those. They're willing to let expire and lay off some people in the government and prevent other people from getting those services. Bless you, for a couple of weeks. I'm unsure. But the bottom line is he's going to need Democratic votes for this. And from what we're reading, the Democrats don't have an issue with this. It's basically a punt. They'll have this fight after the holidays so that they can all go home for Thanksgiving. It's been very difficult. They've been almost working for 10 weeks straight, except for the 3 or 4 weeks where nothing was happening because the Republicans didn't have a leader in their House. But just to give you a little bit of a taste of what's going on in terms of the Republican caucus, this is pretty impressive. Who is this now?
This is one of the guys, the representatives that did vote to oust McCarthy, Representative Tim Burchett. So
Right.
one of those 8 guys. And this broke right before we went live. I guess he got into a little bit of a tussle with the guy, that he stabbed in the back, Kevin McCarthy.
This is Tim Burchett. He is from Tennessee. He's speaking with CNN's Manu Raju. And just to give you a sense of how the negotiations are going amongst Republicans, and clearly what's happened here too, we should also say, is Mike Johnson has gotten sort of like a mulligan from the Freedom Caucus. It is unclear whether he'll get that mulligan come January and February, but there's so much desire to go home for the holidays. But I'm not joking, by these Congress people that like, I think even the Freedom Caucus is afraid to be a stick in the mud. But here is Tim Burchett explaining what's going on. At first, honestly, when I heard this, I thought he was joking.
Congressman, explain to us what happened with you and Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR, a lovely lady, and she was asking me a question. And at that time, I got elbowed in the back. And it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and I for a minute I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then I chased after him. Of course, he's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail. He's the type of guy that when you're a kid would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt, and he just, he from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye and talk to them.
Okay, so he walked down the hallway, hit you in his
Pause it
with
for
his
a
elbow.
second. Like, I can't believe this is a reporter going like, wait a second, walking through. Now, I thought this was a joke.
Are these metaphors?
Honestly, I thought this was a joke.
I
This
turned
is like the type of
around,
thing like,
elbows raised, that he made it clear that he did that.
or I thought he was going to say like, Kevin's a big joker, and he didn't like, when I was doing my interview, he's when he does an interview, I come by, I grab him, I give him a horse bite, and then side of the leg, and then tickle his back of his ankle.
Yeah.
But no, let's go. Let's find out what happened. Because this is real Republican
Yeah,
lawmaking.
this is worse than what happened to Michael Tracy.
That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye and talk to them.
Okay, so he walked down the hallway, hit you in his with his elbow.
Yeah, you can go on Claudia's Twitter account. It pretty much or X account. It's very accurate.
But, okay, so then just explain. So you chased him? What do you mean you chased him?
I just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Why'd you do that? Because it was like I said, if you've ever been hit in the kidneys, it's a little different. You don't have to hit very hard to cause a little bit of pain, a lot of pain. And so he just, of course, as he always does, he just denies it or blames somebody else or something, you know. And it was just a little heated, but I just backed off because I saw no reason. I wasn't gaining anything from it. And then everybody saw it, so it didn't really matter.
Like he responded to you?
Yeah, he just acted like, you know, what are you talking about? You know, who are you? You know, that kind of thing. And it's just,
Believe this.
you know, I think that's symptomatic of the problems that he's had in his short tenure as speaker.
And were you face to face when you had this interaction?
Yeah, but there's security detail. And
This is one of the problems he had as speaker. He would just, you know,
he wouldn't
do that thing where you come up and you flick people behind the ear.
So that wasn't me.
He
Little
would,
wet
he would-
Willie.
He would flick people behind the ear, and then he would just be like, well, I don't know who did. I think, well, I don't know.
He'd give you a wet willy on your right ear while he was standing to your left.
I was in the middle of an interview and he said, "There's something on your shirt," pointed to it, and then went like this. I mean, man.
One of the things I always had a problem with Kevin McCarthy is he was the type of guy who'd come down, he'd be like, look at me like, oh, hey, Sam, how's it going? Do this, lick this, and then rub my glasses. Run streak down in the middle of my glasses, and I have 2 streaks.
I need these to see.
Here is Claudia Grisels. Have never seen this on Capitol Hill. She writes, while talking to Representative Tim Burkett after the Republican conference meetings, former Speaker McCarthy walked by with its detail. McCarthy shoved Burkett. Burkett lunged towards me. I thought it was a joke, and it was not. Chase ensued.
Birch's back was to McCarthy and his detail walking by in the hallway, then the lunge. Burchett responded jokingly as McCarthy kept walking. "Sorry, Kevin, didn't mean to elbow." Then seriously yelled, "Why'd you elbow me in the back, Kevin? Hey, Kevin, you got any guts?" I mean, should I keep going? Burchett then looked back and said to me and said, "Jerk," referring to McCarthy. I asked if he'd done it before. Burchett said no. That's when the chase ensued. Burchett took off after McCarthy and his detail. I chased behind with my mic. Representative Tim Burchett yelled after catching up to McCarthy, "Hey, Kevin, why'd you walk behind me and elbow me in the back?"
I can't believe this is
"I didn't elbow you in the back. You've got no guts. You did so." The reporter said it right there. What kind of chicken move is that? You got no guts. You did so. The reporter said it right there. You're pathetic, man. You're so pathetic. Burchett starts to walk away from McCarthy, tells me what a jerk, and then yells back, "You need security, Kevin."
Wow.
He's really hung up on the fact that McCarthy has a detail.
You know, I can't wait to see Grizel's next report from like a junior high in Bethesda. But this is
things are punchy on Capitol Hill. Mark Wayne Mullen and
no
Sean
pun
O'Brien
intended.
Want to fight each other in the Senate, and Tim Burchett wants to fight Kevin McCarthy.
That's amazing. That is really. I hope we see more of this.
Assaults.
You want to go back to the days?
Assaults.
What was it like? The first, second, or third censure ever in the history of the country was somebody beating somebody else with a cane.
Oh yeah,
that was around the Civil War. Yeah,
yes.
Sumner. All right, let's take a. Well, we're not going to have to take a break, but we got a couple of sponsors today. We're going to get into these new Supreme Court ethics guidelines. I guess it's going to take us about 3 seconds to go over that, and it'll probably take maybe the Supreme Court justices even less time to break them. But first, word from one of our sponsors. If you take a look at search trends, interest in learning a new language is only increasing over time. Why is that? Because people realize, like, first of all, it's fun. But second of all, like, you know, for me personally, I've always been trying to learn Spanish. And I've gotten a little bit better. I mean, not great, but I'm getting better. But with Babbel, you can start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, just in time to show off at the holidays. And one of the things that I love about Babbel, I mean, obviously, you can get the app on your phone. You can do it on your computer if you want to, but they have short little lessons. So, I mean, frankly, for me, it's my phone usage has gone through the roof as of late with all the news. But it's nice to be able to take a little break and feel like I'm learning something. But it teaches you stuff that is really geared towards stuff that you would use in a context. So how to order food, how to ask for directions, how to speak to, merchants or people, clerks. So it's really great for vacation in particular.
Yeah.
And why Babbel? It's because it really does work. Instead of paying hundreds of dollars for a private tutor or fooling yourself with the language apps that are little more than games, Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are designed by over 150 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. It's designed, Babbel is, by real people for real conversations. All of Babbel's tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable, they're accessible, they are rooted in real life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching. And here's a special. This is limited time. Our listeners right now, to get you started, right now, you get 55% off your Babbel subscription. But only for our listeners and only right now at babbel.com/majority. Get 55% off at babbel.com/majority, spelled BABBEL.com/majority. Rules and restrictions apply. We will put the link in the podcast description and the YouTube description. Also, I've mentioned this in the past. I think it's fairly obvious sometimes. Sleep and I are not close friends, as it were. I think most people understand what happens when you don't get enough sleep. In addition to like long-term health issues, affects your mood, affects your mental health. It can increase your weight gain, lower your productivity. It can be, if you get less than 6 or 7 hours of sleep, it can be linked to reduced white blood cell count, which of course, affects your immune system. One of the things that I use in my sort of like repertoire, as it were, of trying to get a good night's sleep is Beam Dream. Beam Dream is a powder. It is essentially like a hot cocoa specifically designed to help you sleep. And today my listeners get a special discount on Beam Dream's powder. It's their best-selling healthy hot cocoa for sleep. No added sugar. It's available in a bunch of different flavors. Cinnamon cacao, sea salt caramel, white chocolate peppermint.
Ooh.
Yep.
Good for the holidays.
Better sleep has never tasted better. Dream contains an all-powerful natural blend of reishi, magnesium. Magnesium's really important for this stuff because it helps the uptake of all the other stuff. L-theanine and melatonin help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. A recent clinical study revealed Dream helped 93% of users wake up feeling more refreshed, and 93% reported that Dream helped them get a more restful nights of sleep. All you got to do is you mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk. Tastes great both ways. Stir or froth and enjoy before bedtime. It's great. And particularly as things start getting a little bit chillier these nights. I mean, as a kid, I always used to have like a hot milk, but this is sort of just like, I don't know, it takes it to another level. It tastes delicious and it really helps. And like I say, cold evenings, really great way to close out the day. Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam, why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. So if you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, this is their biggest sale of the year right now. Get up to 50% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/majority. The discount is auto-applied at checkout. You don't need a code. That's shop, SHOPBEAM, shopbeam.com/majority for up to 50% off. Check it out right now. All right, let's take a look at these new Supreme Court rules. Remember, they're adopting these and announcing these in the context of the Senate having just punted supposedly briefly to subpoenaing Harlan Crow and Leonard Leo, some of the sort of like greatest hits of Supreme Court corruption that are out there. Same with the House Judiciary. But I don't know who this is meant to fool, because anybody who pays attention to the Supreme Court and the ethics violations is going to know rather quickly, like, there's nothing here.
It's meant to just basically say, hey, Dick Durbin, we're taking care of this ourselves. Don't worry about it.
I am also quite convinced that this is like part of the negotiations, because they all know that Alito was responsible for the leaking of that Dobbs decision and the attempt to sort of lock in those wayward votes on the conservative side, because there is ostensibly a part about leaks in this. It's a 9-page code, and was signed by all the sitting justices, covers acceptance of gifts, recusal standards, ostensibly to avoid improper outside influence on justices. It covers stuff like spouses, but it's basically a repackaging of previous statements on ethics, including a compilation released in April when John Roberts wanted to sort of forestall the Senate Judiciary Committee before testifying before a Senate Judiciary Committee, which he didn't want to do. And even that announcement at the time was basically just a statement of a bunch of things that had been more or less said in the past.
Right.
So there's nothing really new here.
There's no enforcement mechanism.
There is zero enforcement mechanism. They don't even seem to address it.
They don't even have a third party kind of like a nod to saying, well, this can be enforced by X body. Like, there's no enforcement mechanism, and there's no saying, okay, well, if we're deemed to be in violation of one of these rules, this is the third party that we will bring in to adjudicate that. Like, there's just nothing there.
Was going to have Jeff Hauser. When I first saw the thing, I was thinking we should get Jeff Hauser on. He is the executive director of the Revolving Door Project. And then, like, it took me about 5 minutes to realize, like, there's not even a point in talking about this. I have a quote from him, I think it was from Politico. This unenforceable public relations document serves absolutely no purpose other than to permit the media to revert to pretending that our unaccountable and unethical Supreme Court retains legitimacy. That's basically it. The new code is vague about when a spouse's personal or political activity should prompt a justice to recuse from a case. And it's silent about how much a justice should do to suss out political conflicts. In other words, you know what? I didn't ask my broker whether I owned $5 million worth of this stock. Or, you know what? My wife and I, we just don't get into like what she's up to these days that much. And I had no idea that she was running an organization that was espousing something that we were ruling on this weekend.
Yeah,
I just didn't ask.
And I had no idea. You know, she was working with people who were potentially trying to overturn the election in the United States.
How would you know? How would you know? Unless you ask, and I didn't feel like I was obligated to ask.
Unless you read your wife's Wikipedia page. This part two was so galling to me. This quote, for the most, this is a quote, I guess, from the from Elie Mystal's recounting of this, saying that to dispel this misunderstanding, we are issuing this code, which largely represents a codification of principles that we have long regarded as governing our conduct. So there's also just this like deep sneering condescension, essentially saying like, how dare you ask us to abide by a code because we already were doing it. But if you're begging us to, we'll restate it for you plebeians.
We should remind you that literally over the past 20, 30 years, Clarence Thomas has taken thousands of dollars of worth, probably tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands worth of benefits from Harlan Crow. Luxury travel. Crow purchased Thomas's mother's home.
Yeah.
Like your friends do. Paid for private school tuition for a relative that Thomas was raising as a son. Like your friends do.
What, you're against education now?
Thomas spoke at donor events for the Koch network.
What, are you against networks?
Sam Alito accepted private jet trip to Alaska from a hedge fund billionaire, did not recuse himself when that billionaire later had a case before the court. Because how can you, who knew? Thomas received a loan from a wealthy friend to purchase an expensive RV, and he didn't repay the loan. Now, other people would call that a gift. That is, you're trying to make it look like it was a loan. I mean, these are just some of the stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but banks accept hugs as loan repayments as well. So you can still technically call it a loan.
Well, you know what? The folks at my bank are super friendly.
Yeah, right.
They're my friends.
Yeah.
They're my friends. So what else here? It has a provision that seems to prohibit leaks by justices about official matters, although it's written in such a way, according to Politico, that it could not be read to put many limits on what members of the court say to the press or associates. So in other words, if it ever comes out that Alito was the one who either directly went to the Wall Street Journal on multiple occasions, including in the wake of the Affirmative Care Act, or I should say the Affordable Care Act ruling, as well as the Dobbs stuff, or authorize somebody, he won't get in trouble for that. A justice should not knowingly make public comment on the merits of a matter pending or impending in any court. A justice should not disclose or use non-public information acquired in judicial capacity for any purpose unrelated to the justice's official duties. But it's unclear, like, what knowingly means. I mean, none of this stuff is defined. If you've read any other code of ethics, never mind one for lawyers, every single element of it is defined. So you have to have a glossary that's usually longer than this, than the actual code of ethics, but they didn't want to do it. So that's what it is. The bottom line is it's
school dress codes are more robust than what they provide.
Exactly.
Here.
It is BS, and hopefully it does not in any way diminish the pressure that we have for judicial reform, and really, frankly, for bring these people in and make them answer these questions about what's been given to Justice Thomas. I mean, if the idea that a billionaire who you're friends with can pay for your mom's house, can pay for your kids' college, private school, can pay for all your luxury trips that we know about, what can you, can you even consider the idea of bribery or I mean, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
It's just absurd.
Dick Durbin, stay on your hot streak of being the only senator, or the first senator to call for a ceasefire, and keep up the pressure and go after Harlan Crow.
Hopefully we'll see more of that from White House as well, who's been on this beat for a while. Let's just talk briefly. There was a story out today where a couple of Trump's campaign people got freaked out by the reporting the other day. I think it was in the Times, which was in part about, it referenced the Heritage 2025 program, but basically talked about Donald Trump and his call this weekend for getting rid of the vermin in our country. Here is Donald Trump. And this is part of, there's really two parts to this. Well, three parts to the story. One is Donald Trump is an authoritarian proto-fascist. Two, all this stuff about weaponization of government that the Republicans have been involved with. Donald Trump was already doing this in his last term. Many of these things that are being written about where he's supposedly going to do in 2025, he was doing these in 2024. But the other element is they are going to professionalize it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Heritage Foundation is on board and is already drawing up plans and is already starting to collect resumes to professionalize the deconstruction of the administrative state.
So it's ready to go. So essentially, as soon as he gets into office.
And it's super efficient. Here is Donald Trump in Claremont, New Hampshire. This was over the weekend. Here he is giving his vision for a Trump presidency.
For places that want to be left alone, we will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media until they become real. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job that we started better than anybody has ever started a job before.
Can you just pause it? Just, you don't even need to take it off the screen, but like he says the most concerning stuff you maybe have ever heard in politics ever, and then ends it in this just like hilarious Trumpian way, and you
started
realize
a job like you never started it before.
It's just like
nobody starts a job like we started a job.
Yeah, he can keep going.
Before. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. You're going to be forgotten no longer. With your help, your love, and your vote, we will put America first. And today, especially in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left, and it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not.
Stephen Miller probably wrote that segment, right? I mean, you pull that, like the threats from within, it's the vermin, it's the Marxists, it's the communists, throw in the fascists. And I mean, people have already written extensively about this. You're quoting Mussolini and Hitler and any other sort of like a despot.
It's a fascist speech, but then, also the Marxists are the fascists too. I'm reminded of when like Chris Matthews on MSNBC was worried that Bernie Sanders' victory would result in public executions in Central Park. But that's the kind of rhetoric where we're going to root out the vermin, the leftists and the communists. That's the kind of rhetoric where you get really concerned about democracy and dissent really being tamped down in a way that maybe we haven't seen in the history of the country.
And they drop this in there for a couple of reasons. One is they want people talking more about Donald Trump. They figure they have already lost the people they're going to lose. It also just sort of expands the playing field of what becomes appropriate and just gearing up for this election. And but like I say, this type of talk, their campaign, at least in like an article on page like 25 of the newspaper, came out and said, well, we're not necessarily going to be doing too many crazy things. Here is let me just go over like what they're doing. Like I said, There is a 1,000-page, I guess it's about 900 pages, Project 2025 handbook put out by the Heritage Foundation. It is, you'll recall at the end of the Trump administration, they put in by executive order a change to the way that civil servants were hired and fired in our government. It was a change to Schedule F. Biden reversed it. But what it would have done is it would have allowed for about something like when you come in, you can get rid of about 4,000 civil servants in different positions throughout our government. This would allow for the getting rid of about 40,000. Now they were able to drive out a lot of basically, I mean, you call them bureaucrats in our government by making things just really difficult on them, whether it was at the EPA or the Bureau of Land Management or the FDA. When you have political leadership that is trying to undermine what the mission of the agency is, people who went into that business essentially to do stuff that, like, I care about the environment, I'm going to be an environmental lawyer. They go in there, and when the political leadership starts to defang and demoralize the agency, people leave. This happens at all the agencies. Scientists leave, labor enforcement leaves, all on and on. That was the project that they began during Trump's first term. But this time around, like I say, the Heritage Foundation is adamant about professionalizing it. So it is a 920-page policy book, 400 plus contributors. It is being perceived as basically a transition team set in place instead of starting it in, September of the election year. It's happening 2 years out. They've been working on this document.
Vetting basically people so they can hit the ground running on seemingly prosecuting some of Trump's political opponents to start.
They're working on trying to set up a database of 54,000 loyal Trumpists, essentially. Like I say, there are 80 groups that are involved in this. Charlie Kirk's Turning Points USA, Center for Renewing America, American Movement, all of these different things. And what they're starting to do already is to interview applicants. They already have 4,000 people in their presidential personnel database. These people are all vetted based upon their social media to see if they've ever been critical of MAGA or Trump in any way. The applicants are asked to name one person, past or present, who has most influenced the development of your political philosophy. Same with a book. They're basically just looking for ideologues, less so necessarily people competent at, do you have environmental policy work? Do you have food safety work? No, doesn't matter. Are you going to listen to what we tell you to do? Yes. Can you establish that you would do, like, you were truthfully that way? Okay, look at my my past social media, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea is they're going to go in and they're going to try and deconstruct the administrative state, just like Steve Bannon promised at CPAC back in 2016, I think it was, in the summer of 2016. They're involved in a massive headhunting quest to recruit 20,000 people to serve in the next administration. There will be 4,000 presidential appointments and as many as 50,000 replacements for federal workers who are so-called policy adjacent. The way they will do that is to reinstitute their Schedule F plan, which they're looking to do when they get back into office, which will allow them to fire, like I say, about 40,000 federal workers who are in quasi, they're civil servants in our federal government. So this is what Trump insiders, this is according to Axios, how it would go. First, it would be the Justice Department and the FBI and the intelligence community. We're not talking about reforms here. We're just talking about slashing and cutting. Some instances, I wouldn't be too sad about that, but I assure you, Civil Rights Division, Antitrust Division, various components of the Department of Justice are going to be slashed. Then Department of Homeland Security and the border, they want detention camps. I would be undoubtedly privatized, detention camps. More than we have now, let's be clear. We have that. Then the Schedule F personnel powers would be rolled in. And on and on. I mean, the bottom line is deconstruct the administrative state. The real scary part about this is this time, the first time they were getting their feet wet, this time they're going to do it. They're going to approach it.
Streamline it.
Like a consulting business. This is, McKinsey, but for right-wing fascist fanatics. Or another McKinsey for right-wing fascist fanatics.
Yeah, it's a good reminder of what we are up against in 2024. Trump going to be the nominee, most likely.
Well, here's the other thing.
Unless he's thrown in jail, I don't know.
But let's play this clip, because we can talk about, Project 2025 as a Trump project. And this, again, Heritage Foundation, 920-page document outlining exactly how they're basically going to deconstruct the administrative state. And here's Steve Bannon to remind you that this is not a Donald Trump project. The Heritage Foundation is essentially the epicenter of Republican thought in this country. They're the ones who came up with that list for all the judges for Donald Trump to appoint, and he did it. And he doesn't care. He takes the list they give him and they do it. Here's Steve Bannon to remind you, this is not just about Donald Trump. The people who put together this handbook, they're in touch with DeSantis's campaign chair. This is a Republican project, and this is the new Republican Party. Maybe not so new, but here's Steve Bannon.
You have a MAGA lawyer who likes to come on your podcast, Mike Davis. Here's what he suggested were the top priorities for Trump's attorney general. 1, fire the deep state executive branch. 2, indict the whole Biden family. 3, deport 10 million people, kids in cages. It will be glorious. 4, detain people at Gitmo. 5, pardon every January 6th defendant. What do you think about that 5-step plan?
I think it's fantastic. We
all
should do
5?
All 5. We're going to start the largest deportation program in history. All 10 million must leave.
You're saying that it's about people's gut feelings, it's about people's lived experiences. You think somebody that's struggling, right now in the economy cares about firing random deep state people, indicting Joe Biden's
there's many things
brother,
Tim,
deporting
did
people?
I say that's all they're going to do? That's Mike Davis would probably be the attorney general.
Trump laughs about Nancy Pelosi's husband being assaulted.
How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? She has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
He said that Mark Milley should be executed. He wants to pardon these January 6th insurrectionists who beat cops with flagpoles. And then he talks about we should have the shoplifters killed, right? Is there not a pattern here that Trump's rhetoric is demonstrably getting more violent?
But any president of the United States that's come from behind at 16 and then try to have his administration thwarted from day one, then win a massive win in 2020 and have it stolen from him,
no one has ever been able to produce a shred of evidence that there was a stolen election in 2020. An administration, a powerful man, a billionaire with a lot of lawyers on his side who went out and adjudicated it in all kinds of venues at your urging and others and lost in every single venue with Republican judges who were often appointed by him.
We'll have plenty of time for that after we win in 2024. We'll get to the bottom of how it was stolen. We will hold people responsible and criminal charges against those people who stole it.
Okay, but as long as he is around, everyone has to kiss the ring. Everyone has to espouse the fake election fraud, or else they're excommunicated.
Not excommunicated, but you're not part of this movement. This is kind of the inner workings of this civil war between the Republican establishment and MAGA. And in there, you have litmus tests, okay? And one of the litmus tests is
Trump.
Not just President Trump, but also particularly the stealing of the 2020 election. That is a fundamental tenet of this movement. By the way, they've made it all about Trump, okay? This movement is ascendant and is going to go on long after Donald Trump is only going to get more powerful and broader. Even if a Democrat was to win, there's no compromise here.
What you're saying is even if Trump lost to Biden, there's no going back to the old Republican Party.
Farther right than Trump.
Farther right.
President Trump is a moderate in our movement. You're going to pine in future years that you wished Donald Trump was around.
There you go.
I mean, yeah, I don't understand what is necessarily to be gained by going down that road with Bannon, but Bannon's hitching his agenda to a guy like Donald Trump. But as you say, it's not just Trump and it's not just Bannon. The Heritage Foundation is fully on board with it. And so the problem is that the Republican Party isn't as divided as Bannon says between the MAGAs and the regular Republicans. The establishment of the party is certainly personified by the Heritage Foundation. They're completely on board with this.
And I would say, really what it is, it's just simply a difference between, Coke and Pepsi. The fundamental, the cola part is still there.
Yeah.
They are all interested in the same sort of policy goals. It really becomes more of slightly different at the margin. Which part of that, which industry player are you going with? The MAGA crew who have their set of friends, or the establishment Republicans who have their sets of friends? And arguably, the establishment have a little bit more constraints on them, but not so much that you won't see that attack, that full frontal attack on the administrative state. I mean, that's just the bottom line. All right, let's just just give you an update on what's going on in Gaza. There is still fighting around the Al Shifa hospital. They are, according to NBC News, digging a mass grave to bury decomposing bodies, as they have no way to get them out of the hospital.
This is the hospital where premature babies have already died.
Yes.
Because there is no power for incubators. They were huddling babies together so that they could stay warm.
Ostensibly, according to the Israelis, there's big meeting rooms, big tunnel intersection underneath the Al Shifa hospital. One of the things they've done, there was an earlier hospital that they overran, the Israelis did, and they released a video showing where they presumed there were hostages being held in a sort of like a basement of the hospital. Quite possible. Also, not a good idea to bomb that area if you want these hostages to live. But, it has not been
Also,
necessarily...
they pointed to a schedule on the wall that supposedly had the, this is the hostage schedule of watching the hostages. And it was just the days of the week in Arabic, so they had to delete that tweet and other fabricated evidence. Krista Peterson also posted this. This is from a piece in the International Review, but summary. In 2014, Israel bombed Al Shifa Hospital and said they were targeting a Hamas bunker underneath, but then changed their mind and said it was a failed rocket.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, well, I mean, we heard the failed rocket thing in regard to another hospital. I don't care if there are Hamas tunnels under the hospital. So, we can put that aside
but
for a second.
But there's also no evidence, Ben.
But there's also no evidence that there isn't. And there are Hamas tunnels throughout Gaza, but that's in part because Gaza is a very, very small strip of land with millions of people concentrated on it. So, the Israeli government understands that they can feasibly make that case about essentially any location, no matter if it's a United Nations facility, a school, a hospital. They can point to, there's, Hamas tunnels under there just because of the nature of the land that we're looking at here.
Biden said the hospital must be protected.
A little late for that.
It's a little bit
nice, yeah.
And then, of course, on the National Mall today, there is a rally that is really fundamentally about supporting Israel's attack on Gaza.
It's a pro-war rally.
The idea that it's about anti-Semitism, the The confluence of that, frankly, in my mind, makes Jews a lot less safe. When you start to equate, anti-Semitism with calling for a ceasefire, calling for a halt on the attacks on Palestinian civilians, when you equate anti-Semitism with calls for ending the occupation, whether it's a one-state or a two-state solution, when you equate anti-Semitism with even the idea of having another country not be a theocracy, what you are doing is you are, in my mind, endangering Jews ultimately down the road, because it is unsustainable long term, for particularly in an environment where it's much harder for Israel to control the media narrative like they did for decades. It is unsustainable that the Israeli government is going to be able to continue to subjugate millions of people as second class, third class, or just simply non-citizens. And when the entire world, and we are headed in that direction, says that we can no longer morally tolerate this, if that becomes synonymous with anti-Semitism, then Jews are in a big
danger.
In a big danger.
And I mean, do you think Netanyahu cares about that?
No.
That's the thing.
No,
so,
of course not.
Well, I mean, I'm asking the audience.
Our media needs to assess.
No,
this,
and of course, and I mean,
but my point, just like exactly what you're saying is that's the cover that the far right fascist government that Netanyahu runs needs. They're so desperate to continue to maintain those ties, because if it scares enough people away from actually calling it like they see it, they're going to be in deep trouble. So they are literally using Jews across the world as like their frontline propaganda soldiers in order to continue to tie the concept of anti-Semitism to criticism of Israel. They don't care if hate crimes go up. They don't care if Jews across the world bear the brunt, because it's all about a propaganda cover for their war crimes.
Yeah, I mean, you could say they're human shields in some way.
I didn't want to go that far.
No, but I mean,
yeah.
This isn't about assessing Bibi Netanyahu, because even 80% of the Israeli population realizes that he's just a Donald Trump.
Okay, but the whole
with an accent.
government, the whole government.
But this is really more about for Jews in this country and outside of Israel to worry about, where their Judaism is being bound up with attacks on civilians. It is not a way to create safety for Jews.
Saying Jewish kids at Brown being put in cuffs by cops for objecting to this.
Yeah. I mean, the tying together of these two concepts is really dangerous in my estimation. But
what else can you expect by the Israeli government and the way that what it's turned into? And again, I encourage everybody to look at these images of the hundreds of thousands of Gazans, or at least tens of thousands, I'm not sure, but who are fleeing North Gaza on foot. Grandmothers in wheelchairs, children injured and maimed, carrying whatever belongings that they can to the south of Gaza, which is also getting bombed. And ask yourself what makes this in any way distinguishable from the Trail of Tears here in the United States and from the first Nakba.
The images look exactly like the Nakba images on like Ilham Papi's book. The only difference is there's more people, it seems like, this time.
1.6 million now have been displaced in Gaza. And, the other part about it is, what is there to go back to? And
they're already saying that the Gaza is likely uninhabitable for months. The people that are still there are tens of thousands are facing disease. upper respiratory issues. I wrote some of this down here. Upper respiratory issues, scabies, lice. I can't imagine that COVID has gone away and there's no health facilities for people to get taken care of there. There's no water, so like you can't even wash out the dust and the you can't even wash your hands. Or,
we're gonna have a lot of people die of disease.
Babies left to die.
Yeah.
According to the Washington Post's David Ignatius, Israel and Hamas are close to a deal on an exchange of hostages. Israel wants release of all 100 women and children taken from Israel. Hamas has indicated it's ready to release 70 women and children. I like this. Ignatius says, Israel wants release of 100 women and children taken from Israel. The number of Palestinian women and young people. Now, I'm curious as to what young people is, as opposed to children.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently Palestinians have young people and Israelis have children.
Have you noticed that too in the Times and the Washington Post? They have now said women and minors, because it's something like 8,000 women and children are among the 1,100 plus dead. And I mean, they used to say 1,400 Israelis were killed in the Hamas attack. Now most outlets are saying 1,200. It used to say women and children getting killed, and now it's saying women and minors in Palestine.
You don't want...
Like these subtle rhetorical shifts. Yep. Notice it means something. A lot of these reporters who cover this on a day-to-day basis are getting their information from similar sources. These are important things to pay attention to.
According to Ignatius, a temporary ceasefire of perhaps 5 days would accompany the exchange of hostages and prisoners, the Israeli official said. This truce would allow safe travel for the Israeli captives. It would also permit more international assistance to Palestinian civilians. We'll see as to whether this happens. These negotiations have been happening through Qatar. It's always interesting to me. Ignatius has all of these, for years, I've been reading David Ignatius, and it has always been my pet theory that he's very, very close to the CIA.
Oh.
And, but who knows? But that would be coming out here. And the idea that this type of stuff leaks, it's unclear to me what's being reported in the Israeli press. But the idea that this leaks in this way via Ignatius suggests to me anyways that like there is at least some attempt by certain parts of the U.S., sort of national security apparatus, to pressure Israel to actually engage in this hostage release negotiations. Because, of course, that would, at least taking the hostages off the table, as it were, would diminish the justification for what Israel's doing. I don't even want to go into Hillary Clinton's writing her piece. Let me just put it this way: like Hillary Clinton has a piece, I think, is in the Times, sort of justifying why there should not be a ceasefire. And here's the sort of really blinkered thing about this. This notion that you're going to wipe Hamas off the face of the earth by going into Gaza, even if you could kill all 40,000 fighters, even if you could kill all 40,000 fighters, and you wouldn't kill the leadership. But even if you could kill the leadership in Qatar and Turkey and Lebanon and who knows where else they are, the idea that you can kill this many civilians, people who have fathers and mothers, or children who no longer have fathers or mothers, or they've lost all their brothers and sisters, or all their relatives are dead, or they have seen people get maimed and killed and right in front of them. The idea that there is not going to be something else that grows out of this is just so diluted. And the idea that it wouldn't be even more extreme or angry or hateful or resentful is diluted.
Well,
It's
it's
just
arrogant.
Simply diluted.
I mean, I'm sorry. Like,
This is the
she was
amazing-
the freaking Secretary of State, and she's playing, dumb about the concept of blowback. I mean,
She's a bloodthirsty woman. Like
she is. I
like
mean,
But she's representative of, at the very least, the exact same ideology that Netanyahu is there, and there may be some elements of the U.S. government that also agree with this premise. But it's absurd. It is absurd. It's like it's magic. We go in and there's no implications of this. And it really is stunning. There is no, and really the only way you can do this is to go in and kill everyone. And that's why, and I suppose if you were able to kill, 1.5 million people, you would find that it might be moderately effective in your agenda. And certainly that's I think the ideology of the Israeli government. The Israeli government does not perceive there to even be a civilian class of people in Gaza.
that's the usefulness of Hamas, because that's why they wanted Hamas in power and have continued to foster Hamas in Gaza since the 80s. Is
It was a
because
PLO before that,
you
too.
can say that every Palestinian, I mean, this is their representatives, and they deserve collective punishment because of the terrorism they foster.
They don't accept our existence, aka our exclusive right to all this territory that we want to take.
Here is who's speaking at this pro-Israel rally today in the mall. And to be clear, again, this is a pro-Israel rally, and it's not even a pro-Israel rally. It is a pro-attack Gaza rally. This is a pro-war rally that is happening today in Washington, D.C.
With New York members of Congress and Chuck Schumer and,
Senate Majority
and
Leader.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, the Senate Majority Leader, the leader of the Democrats in the House, and the leader of the Republicans in the House, Mike Johnson.
The anti-establishment
Right.
folks.
Mike Johnson, who's really he's just very concerned about anti-Semitism, that extreme fundamentalist Christian.
It is without a doubt the idea of conflating an anti-Semitism rally with a pro-war rally is absurd. And how do we know that this is a pro-war rally? Because this is a rally attended by the president of Israel, Herzog. This is him at a news conference on October 13th, making it clear the perspective that the Israelis have on the idea of civilians.
We are operating militarily according to rules of international law, period. Unequivocally.
Pause it. Let me just put this, make this clear too. The rules of international law say that people who are living under occupation can fight that occupation by any means necessary. In no way, in my mind, does that in any way sort of encourage or accept. I don't have to accept the butchery of October 7th, but to talk about international law, there is just simply international law, if it means anything, which it doesn't apparently. But if it were to mean anything, means that the Palestinians can fight this occupation in any fashion necessary, because of course it's a completely asymmetrical fight. But
and to say too that if international law means anything, Israel has been found to be in violation of it for decades at this point.
You're not allowed to, for instance, settle territories you're occupying.
Yeah.
We are operating militarily according to rules of international law, period. Unequivocally. It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true. They could have risen up, they could have fought against that evil regime which took over Gaza in a coup d'etat. But we're at war. We are at war. We're at war we're defending our homes. We're protecting our homes. That's the truth. And then when a nation protects its home, it fights. And we will fight until we'll break their backbone.
We are protecting our homes. We're protecting the homes of the 700,000 settlers who are illegally living on Palestinian land. And we're also protecting the homes of the future settlers who will, once Gaza is cleared of the flesh and the blood and the dead babies and the disease and the chemicals that come from dropping that many bombs on that small of a strip of a land in such a short period of time. Once that's cleared out, then those will also be Israeli homes that will be protected with further violence and further ethnic cleansing. Pure defense as we actively settle and take away, strip by strip, mile by mile, the land that once belonged to proud Palestinian people.
This is a clip from Democracy Now! On October 31st. Amy Goodman spoke with Dr. Ham Allo, a doctor in Gaza. Look at this interview. It's appropriate in the wake of Isaac Herzog saying that we hold the Palestinians, all the Palestinians, responsible for what Hamas did. There is no innocent civilians, according to him, because they could have in some way risen up and taken over Hamas. Here is this doctor when Amy Goodman asks why he doesn't move south and flee.
Dr. Hamam, you've said every day I see a fear in their eyes that I can't do much about. It's very painful. If you have kids, you know how horrible it is not to be able to comfort them, to ensure they're all right, to make them hope for anything beyond living one more day. If you can talk about that in the hospital, which, as you said, is not just a hospital for sick people. Thousands are taking refuge at Al-Shifa and Al-Quds and the other hospitals. And also, we're talking to you as you just left Al-Shifa. How do you comfort your family? What's happening to your family as you're at the hospital?
I tell them at least we still have a house with the door to close. But many thousand refugees, people like us who used to live in dignity, have no longer houses and no doors to close to protect them. They are surrounded by wastewater, by garbage. They don't have adequate, continuous supply of clean water to drink. Many of them have a lot of missing members of their families. They don't know if they are alive or not. I tell them at least we still have a house to live in, but they don't have. And surprisingly, my 4- and 5-year-old kids, they accept this as a comfort, as a better situation compared to those refugees living. They are living actually in hospitals, but it's not like they are living inside the hospital departments. Many of them do not have enough space to go into hospital hallways, so they are living around the buildings and in the garden. So yeah, surprisingly, my very young kids accept this.
The Israeli military has dropped thousands of pamphlets warning people where you are in northern Gaza to leave. Why don't you go with your family south?
And if I go, who treats my patients? They are not animals. They have the right to receive proper health care. So we can't just leave.
The World Health Organization talked about this issue of telling doctors to leave their patients, choosing your own lives over your patients. Can you talk about that choice, since so many patients can't leave? For example, babies and incubators.
You think I went to medical school and for my postgraduate degrees for a total of 14 years, so I think only about my life and not my patients? I'm asking you, ma'am, do you think this is the reason I went to med school? To think only about my life? This is not the reason why I became a doctor.
He is now dead.
That guy died in the bombing, I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Killed
Dr.
by Israel.
Hamam Olo, killed by Israel, working at the Al-Shifa hospital. I mean, doctors are performing C-sections and surgery without anesthesia. There were reports earlier that without, when the water, because of the water shortages, there were medical workers drinking out of IV bags. We've also said, the incubators for the premature babies have run out of power, and so they're huddling babies together in blankets so that they can keep each other warm.
And yet our press has conditioned people to see the word martyr as some kind of terrorist.
All right, well, that's the show for today. We're going to move into the fun half of the program. Hopefully things will be a little bit more fun. We have some clips that'll be a little more fun, hopefully. This is the situation. It's very difficult to sort of reconcile how right now. I mean, I've just noticed
Van Jones is speaking as we speak, so I'm sure that's going really great.
Oh.
What struck me is this morning is, everybody knows I listen to the AP in the morning and there was, 300,000 people the other day in support of Palestinians in London, 20,000 in Austin, Texas, of all places. There was, we have tens of thousands of people protesting all across the country. This morning was the first time I had heard about a protest that was to take place.
Yeah.
In D.C. And imagine that, but it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. Don't forget also about justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, justcoffee.coop. Emma, what's happening with the ESPN?
Yesterday, we broke down Week 10 in the NFL, CJ Stroud's historic performance. Also, the Browns might actually be legit if Deshaun Watson can get his crap together. More things, and the implosion of the Edmonton Oilers, which has been interesting to watch. YouTube.com/ESPN show.
Matt.
Jason Miles makes his return, talking about a new piece he has in Compact Magazine, patreon.com/Left Reckoning tonight. Also might get into a little bit of Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro drama.
See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Anarchy. Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back, 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 back.
You are a madman!
And the alpha males are back, back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them, just put them in rotation.
DJ Denner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males.
Psych. Fuck them. Fuck them. Snowflake says what? What?